students, welcome to class. Yeah, we're outside today. And yeah, I'm holding this book, Motivational Methods for Vegan Advocacy. It's a pretty cool book, actually. It gives lots of tips and ideas, and it is written by a psychologist, Casey Taft. Here's what he looks like. See that? Okay, so today I'm going to be reading a little bit from chapter 9 so that you will understand what kinds of things animal rights activists go through and what works and what doesn't, and what does Casey recommend. Let's see if our activism is actually working or not, according to a psychologist. So here we have the stages of intentional behavior change. The most common and egregious mistakes I have observed in animal advocacy involve how we respond to those who demonstrate at least some ambivalence about changing their behavior. I will provide 2 examples below of common mistakes that I witness regularly. So we have here Steve, then we have response A and response B. Okay? Let's look at what Steve says. I'm a transitioning vegan. I have given up all meat and am working on dairy products. It's pretty easy after you see the horrific truth. I don't want to touch any kind of meat. I switched to certified humane eggs and milk. Uh-oh, an alarm bell just went off. I switched to certified humane eggs and milk, and I am having difficulty giving them up. I want to try out different alternative milks available. Also, it's hard for me to keep track of what to avoid in baked goods. So, response A is a passive response, and B is aggressive. Yes, Bella. For those of you who don't know, I have a dog named Bella, and she's here on the porch with me, and she just saw somebody coming across the street to deliver something. So if you hear any barking, don't worry about it. It's just her. It's okay, Bella. Thank you for protecting the house. It's okay. All right, so here we are. Response A, passive. Robin. Steve, I know that some will disagree with what I'm saying, but make sure that you take your time to transition. And if you need to eat eggs, please try to cut down and make sure that you know where they're coming from and how the hens are treated. For many of us, going vegan was a journey, and we need to be supportive. Okay. Sorry if I'm not getting that camera perfectly on the book there. I'm doing my best. All right. Here. Now, here's response B. Yeah, so first, response A is not something that I would personally say. Let's look at the aggressive response. Dominic, the baby chicks who are ground up alive don't care about your vegan journey. If you cared about the animals, you'd go vegan. It's as simple as that. When you buy so-called humane eggs, you're murdering animals for the sake of your own taste. Where am I? Okay, here. Taste buds. It's time to get over yourself and focus on the animals. So, now Casey writes, this example illustrates what can happen when we hope to see immediate behavioral change when non-vegan persons demonstrate some ambivalence about changing. In both cases, the animal advocate is attempting to promote some immediate behavior change, but using different approaches and emphasizing different end goals. Response A, by Robin, is making the mistake of passively settling for an end goal less than veganism in the hopes of seeing some immediate change consistent with the reducitarian approach. Something I don't really like. Response B, Dominic, is more aggressively challenging Steve in an effort to jolt him into going vegan immediately. Neither response is likely to be effective because neither of them will likely serve to move the individual any closer to veganism. So this is according to Casey Taft. Now, I happen to not really agree with what Casey is saying here. And the reason I say that is because I believe that in society, we need to have different types of advocates, and in different points in our lives, we need different people to touch us with the vegan message. Message 1 would not have worked for me. Message 2 would have worked for me and did work for me, and it works for some. Yeah, initially we might be upset when we hear somebody being so forceful, but I know for a fact that for some people that works. They go around after that and they start to really think about what was said, as opposed to just, well, oh, I'll just cut down a bit and maybe I'll become vegan in a year or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or whenever. That's not something that I agree with. But let's keep reading because Casey does have some good things to say. It is critically important to keep in mind that our ability to influence the behaviors of others is not determined by how that individual responds immediately in the moment. Yeah, and here's where I do agree with him. Because it's not like we are expecting people immediately to say, oh, okay, you've guilt-tripped me into being vegan, so I'll be vegan right now. That's not what I think happens. I know that it doesn't happen immediately. It takes 100 clicks to become vegan. It has to enter your head and it has to penetrate your heart. You have to understand that you can be vegan and you have to feel for the animals. Now, part of the reason that I find the second approach to be better is because what it does is it disrupts society. It jolts people into at least thinking about it. And then the idea is that others will pick up the pieces. Other vegan animal rights activists will give you the ideas, give the person the ideas of what to do next. So they might show them a recipe, or they might say, hey, come on over, let's go shopping together, and do all of the nice, warm, and fuzzy things that some people need. But we won't get to stage 2 if we don't jolt people enough into thinking about the animals. This is my feeling. So let's keep reading. Indeed, it's fairly rare to make such a compelling point that the non-vegan will voice their decision to go vegan right then and there. And I agree with him there. What is most important is that we help that individual to increase their own readiness for changing their behavior and going vegan. I agree with Casey. For some, our discussion with them may tip the balance in favor of changing, and they may go vegan shortly after. For others, our interaction with them may not get them to go vegan immediately, but it may help them think more about the ethical implications of their animal use, setting the stage for both short-term and long-term behavioral change. A maddening statement that both vegans and non-vegans often make is, the world isn't going to be vegan overnight. This phrase is used to justify advocating baby steps. And you see, Casey puts it right here. Baby steps approach, where we don't encourage people to go vegan, which often leads people to stop short of veganism altogether because they think they're doing enough by eating less or switching to almond milk. The reason this statement doesn't hold water is because it ignores the fact that behavioral change occurs at the individual level, and many people literally do go vegan overnight. I don't think that's true. I think that it seems that way, that they go vegan overnight, but that they have had plenty of these different clicks that, as I say, penetrate their head and their heart before making that decision. I say that because society has indoctrinated us so much to eat dairy products and to wear things like wool and leather and to ride horses. There are so many steps towards really understanding veganism. So I don't really agree with Casey here. Therefore, baby steps, there's no justification for advocating anything less than veganism. Okay, so just because it may have taken many of us to go fully vegan doesn't mean we wouldn't have made the change much sooner if others had more openly discussed veganism with us. I personally went vegan when a friend of mine assertively confronted me about my vegetarianism and how I was contributing to the harm to animals in the dairy industry. I knew she was right, and I went vegan that day. Okay, but you see, he makes it sound like he went vegan overnight, but he didn't, because his mind was already open to the animals. He was already vegetarian, which means that he knew all about the suffering of the animals for a long time. I don't know how many years he was vegetarian for. So this is what I mean. I knew she was right, and I went vegan that day. I have heard many stories similar to mine from other longtime vegans. The change process, however, is certainly different from different people, and it is important for us to match our strategy for promoting change to the stage where the individual is in terms of their readiness for change. This is critical in our attempt to help anyone change a problematic behavior that they may not recognize as problematic. Again, however, the explicit end goal of veganism should not change regardless of our strategy. the explicit end goal. So we should always make sure that we underline veganism is the end goal, no matter what kind of baby steps somebody is engaging in. Okay. An influential theoretical model originally developed in the treatment of alcoholics and adapted for a range of other problematic behaviors is the trans-theoretical model, or stages of change model. In its simplest form, the model states that when we change a problematic behavior, we go through a series of stages ranging from a phase where we are not even considering changing to a phase where we have fully changed the behavior. This model has also led to specific motivational interviewing techniques that have shown to effectively promote therapeutic change across a number of treatment populations. To briefly summarize the model, the specific stages of change are, okay, now we're going to look at the specific changes. There are 5 of them, all right? Here we go. Stage 1. Pre-contemplation. The individual does not recognize that their behavior needs changing. In the context of animal advocacy, the individual may proudly consume animal products and state that they have no intention of ever changing. So, stage 1 is a typical carnist, and these stages are actually proving what I said about it takes 100 clicks until become vegan. So Casey Taft is kind of contradicting himself in a way. He says that vegans become vegan overnight sometimes, and then he states here that, in fact, there are stages. So let's look here. Stage 2, contemplation. The person first begins to consider the merits of changing the behavior. They may ask for information about vegan nutrition or recipes, or ask about videos that show the cruelty of animal agriculture industry. Stage 3, preparation. The individual perceives a need to change and is getting ready to do so. They may indicate that it's time for them to go vegan and that they are ready to take that final step. Now, some of you here are new to this channel. Some of you are at stage 1. You probably came here because you heard terrible things about me and you want to see some drama and you want to hate on me and you want to write terrible things in the comment section. And some of you have stayed for a little while and have looked a little bit closer and have realized, well, wait a second, she maybe does have some kind of a message to give that maybe I should look at. So that's stage 2, contemplation. Stage 3 is preparation. Some of you are in that stage now. The individual perceives a need to change and is getting ready to do so. They may indicate it's time for them to go vegan and that they are ready to take that final step. So they're still not vegan yet, but they're really thinking about it. And these are exciting times right here. Stage 4, action. The individual is actively working on changing the behavior. Here, the individual is in the early stages of their transition to veganism and is changing their routines. Right? So that means you're starting to go to the grocery store and starting to switch from let's say buying cow's milk to buying oat milk. Maybe you're trying soy milk or almond milk or whatever. And maybe you're starting to try vegan burgers. Maybe you bought Beyond Burgers. Maybe you're starting to do more research into things. You're starting to watch even more documentaries to really solidify this, having conversations with friends and family. Maybe you've gone to a vegan potluck. You know, all these different things are starting to happen. Stage 4. The individual is actively working at changing the behavior. Here, the individual is in the early stage of their transition to veganism as in changing their routine. Sorry, I just read that one. Okay, so stage 5 is the maintenance. The behavioral change has been made and the individual is working to prevent relapsing to their old ways. This phase is critical because a relapse is a very real concern, though the more one resonates with ethical arguments of veganism related to minimizing our harm to animals, the less likely they are to revert to non-veganism. Okay, so this is when you get sometimes these YouTubers who say, oh, I'm vegan now, and then they last for a while, and then, you know, after a while, 6 months, a year, or a couple of years, they say, well, I'm no longer vegan. And what happens in those cases is that they don't really understand what veganism is all about, that it's about the animals. It's not about a diet. It's not about humans. It's not even about the environment. Veganism is about the animals. So if you liked learning a little bit about this book, you can always buy it, but we will also be reviewing more of this book in future lessons. I just wanted to touch base with you about this author. His name again is Casey Taft, and he is an ethical vegan. You can buy this book on Amazon and read it, share it, or just stay here on this channel, That Vegan Teacher. If you subscribed, we're going to be going over things like this more often. All kinds of different things are happening on this channel. We are looking at different foods. We are looking at not just nutrition, but of course the animals, and we are also looking at ethics, mostly ethics on this channel. But I will be sharing all kinds of other things with you, such as animal rights activists around the world, different chefs. I will be interviewing vegans and calling out non-vegans. So if you like this channel, if you like what you see so far, stay, subscribe. On the screen right now, you will see some things popping up, different videos that I posted in the past. Have a look at them, be curious, check them out, and don't forget, like I said, to subscribe and press the little bell. Apparently, 90% of the people who come here are very curious. They come and then they forget to subscribe. So subscribing is kind of an important thing if you want to keep learning, if you have an open mind and are just willing to look beyond where you are right now and get through these 5 stages. Thanks for being here, and thank you to everybody who supports my work here and who helps me to speak on behalf of the animals. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Do 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 do.